Hello, everyone. Welcome to the FAA podcast. Good to have Logan here, as always. It wasn't the craziest weekend of football we've seen, but there were some upsets a little bit. And I know you and I both have certain games and things we want to rant about. Let's get into it here. Starting with college on Friday night. This is my first rant. Houston 33-32 over Memphis. And Memphis deserved to lose this game. I mean, they were up 24-7, I believe, at one point. I had the under 57.5 in this game, which I was working, so I wasn't watching the game, but I was listening to it. And I was like, sounds good. I think we're good. We're pretty low scoring to start here. 20-7 entering the fourth quarter. Memphis is up. They go up 26-7. And I'm like, all right, that's pretty much game, 14:50 to go in the fourth quarter. Houston outscores Memphis 26-12 in the fourth quarter to win the game, including a 100-yard kickoff return touchdown after they were down 29-13 with 8 minutes to go. So yeah, with 8 minutes to go, you're up by 2 scores and 2 2-point conversions, and you somehow allow 20 to get out. You somehow allow yourself to get outscored 20-3 in the last 8 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
It's
a tough look, and this is one of the reasons why I'm always wary of betting over under in college football, is because you'll have games like this where it's okay, through 3 quarters there's not much going on, and then all of a sudden there's 50 points scored in the last 15 minutes. It's absurd, but that's part of the territory. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Houston has been in this type of game all season. It's been just one score, and they've gone to overtime 3 times this year already out of 6 games. Yeah. They're not good. They're not that good. They just constantly get in these close games, and by their record, they win half of them.
Yep. There you go. Well, that's why they're 500. I mean, the more close games you're in, the more likely you're going to lose some of those. So that speaks to the record.
Yeah, Clayton Tune, 63.2%, 366, 3 touchdowns and a pick, 7 carries, 20 yards and another touchdown. Seth Hennigan from Memphis, 65.6%, 241, 1 touchdown, 12 carries, 24 yards. Not much on the ground for either team. Asa Martin for Memphis, though, 7 carries, 32 yards. Also added 2 catches, 51 yards, and a touchdown. He scored on a 41-yard pass there from Gabriel Rodgers, the receiver, in the trick play. 5 catches, 71 yards, 2 carries, 23 yards, and 1 of 2 passing for 41 yards and a touchdown. 100-yard receiver in this game, it was Houston wide receiver Sam Brown, 9 catches, 116 yards. And Houston wide receiver Nathaniel Dell, 10 catches, 81 yards, and a touchdown. Houston wide receiver Keyshawn Carter, he scored twice to go along, 4 catches, 36 yards. And probably defensively, I'm going to go with the bottom guy, Memphis defensive lineman Cormonte Hamilton, 2 tackles, both of them solos, sack, tackle for loss, pass deflection, 2 QB hurries, and then, like I said, defensive back Jace Rogers for Houston. On defense, he had 5 tackles, 3 solos, and a half tackle for loss, but he added that 100-yard kickoff return touchdown. Memphis plus 1.5, over 57.5. San Jose State blowing out UNLV at home, 40-7. Chevin Cordero, the Hawaii transfer, was fantastic, 66.7%, 230, 2 touchdowns. And on the ground, he was even better, 14 carries, 109 yards, and 2 more touchdowns there. Quarterback struggled for UNLV. Cameron Friel, 68.2%, 153, 1 touchdown and a fumble. And Doug Brumfield was absolutely terrible. 1 of 6, 16.7%, 8 yards. Yeah, this is the first SJSU game we've had this season, and they look pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty statement win. Both teams pretty evenly matched record-wise coming in, and for you to just kind of blow them out like that, it's impressive. This is a conference game too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mountain West Conference game.
So yeah, that'll have very important implications for them, hopefully reaching the conference championship.
Receivers to note in this one: tight end Dominic Mazzotti for San Jose State, 7 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. And defensively, you got to go with the top guy, UNLV linebacker Austin Ajiaki, 13 tackles, 6 of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. San Jose State covered, -6.5, under 51.5. Saturday, number 4, Michigan, 31-10 over Indiana. Struggled in this game early until the fourth quarter. They outscored them 21-0. But it was 10-10 most of the way. And they finally got it going. Blake Corum ripped off a long run and then punched it in at the 1-yard line. JJ McCarthy was great again, 77.8%, 304, 3 touchdowns and a pick, 4 carries, 26 yards. Connor Bazelak for the Hoosiers, 51% completion, 203 yards, 1 touchdown and a pick. And guy I have a Heisman future on, Blake Corum, another good game, 25 carries, 124 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, that's not a bad bet, considering the sheer volume that he's kind of getting right now.
Yeah, Michigan keeps rolling. They won't this weekend though. Against Penn State. Just saying. Kind of a foreshadowing to our preview of that game on Friday. But Michigan wide receiver Ronnie Bell, great game, 11 catches, 121 yards, and wide receiver Cornelius Johnson, 4 catches, 58 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. It's kind of interesting, Michigan's tight end situation, because preseason everyone was looking at Eric All, but tight end Luke Schoonmaker has been the guy catching the ball and making the plays at tight end. So 9 catches, 67 yards, and a touchdown in this one. And defensively, Michigan linebacker Ayabi Oki, 3 tackles, 1 solo, sack, 1.5 tackles for loss, 2 pass deflections, and a QB hurry. Indiana did cover, plus 23.5, and the under 57.5. Michigan dropped down a rank this week, even with
Really?
Yeah.
Did they swap them in Clemson?
Yes. Yeah, because Georgia went to 1, Ohio State went to 2, Bama went to 3, Clemson to 4. Number 8, Tennessee, romping over number 25, LSU, 40-13. Yeah, I had LSU +3, which was a great time. They are so bad compared to Tennessee. But Jaden Daniels, 71.1%, 300 yards, 1 touchdown and a pick, 16 carries, 38 yards. Hendon Hooker, 63%, 239, 2 touchdowns, 10 carries, 56 yards. Jabari Small, though, for Tennessee, 22 carries, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 3-yard catch. They were running the ball at will, and Hooker probably didn't have as many yards passing because LSU was setting them up at the 50 plus almost every drive,
Yeah.
including the opening. I mean, it started just horribly for LSU. They fumbled the opening kickoff. They muffed that. Tennessee recovered, scored a touchdown. Then they go 3 and out, punt the ball back. Tennessee goes down, gets a field goal. They're down 10-0 within the first 5 minutes of the game.
Mhm.
It was crazy how bad they
Yeah.
started.
Yeah, Hooker looked much sharper than like maybe the box score says, just for that reason you said, is like LSU's defense just collapsed. And their offense wasn't generating enough yards on the ground to get them in positions where Tennessee was going like the length of the field and stuff like that. But man, Tennessee, man, they're humming along. They are I think, a scary team for some of the blue bloods in the SEC. I am pumped for this weekend, the Bama Tennessee game. So
Yeah, they jumped up 2 spots to number 6 now. That's a 3-6 matchup against Bama this week in Knoxville. Yeah, like you said, no ground game. Jaden Daniels was the leading rusher for LSU. The leading ball carrier, Josh Williams, 7 carries, 10 yards, 1.4 average, and a touchdown, 2 catches, 15 yards. Brew McCoy was great for the Vols, 7 catches, 140 yards. Jalen Hyatt scored twice on 4 catches for 63 yards. And defensively, I got to go with the bottom guy. I've been talking about almost every Tennessee game, defensive lineman Byron Young for the Volunteers. 5 tackles, 2 solos, 2.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. Moving up those edge rankings.
yeah, and one thing I'll say before we move on here from this game is that Tennessee has had back-to-back pretty impressive wins here without probably their most talented wide receiver in Cedric Tillman, who's going to get drafted pretty high next year. So we'll see if they get him back this weekend, but pretty impressive stuff.
Tennessee covered easily -2.5, under 63.5. This was a great game. Number 17, TCU, 38-31 over number 19, Kansas. There has to be an asterisk on this game, though. Jalen Daniels got injured. Jason Bean balled out to the best ability. The interception he threw was absolutely horrible. It just floated it across the middle, way behind his receiver, which led to a TCU touchdown. But also want to mention that the receiver play in this game was elite. The amount of toe tap and just acrobatic catches, 3 of them that I can remember, 2 for TCU, 1 for Kansas. It was just marvelous receiver play in the end zone specifically.
Yeah. And I tweeted, I said, we finally got the Quentin Johnston him game, because he was a guy in a lot of the way too early mock drafts that a lot of draft nicks were kind of salivating over. And you can see why. I mean, he's 6'4", 200 pounds, but he's pretty quick. Pretty quick with his feet. And I read an article. They asked him, after the game, kind of, is this kind of a vindication for you coming out and doing this after a slow start? And he said, he's like, look, through our first 4 games, we were, they were double covering me, which just led to more opportunities for other guys, and you can't complain because you're winning. But those guys took advantage of that, to where you're a team like Kansas, you can't really, just single out one guy, because TCU's offense has been so multiple. And that allowed him to finally have that breakout game that you're seeing here.
Yeah. the stats here: Max Duggan, TCU, 69.7%, 308, 3 touchdowns and a pick, 9 carries, 55 yards and a touchdown. Jason Bean, like I said, came in for Jalen Daniels, did well, 66.7%, 262, 4 touchdowns and a pick. Made a record, a Kansas football record. The only quarterback in Kansas history to throw 4 touchdowns in a quarter. In a quarter, I believe it was. He threw all 4 in the fourth quarter, I think. 7 carries, 34 yards for him. Jalen Daniels, when he did play, was struggling, but the Jayhawk defense was also holding up on the other end, so it was a pretty close game the whole way. 50%, 89 yards and a fumble. 2 backs tied for the rushing lead in the game. Kendre Miller for TCU, 18 carries, 88 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 catches for 5 yards. And Devin Neal for Kansas, 15 carries, 88 yards, 1 catch for 1 yard. Like you said, Quentin Johnston, great game for him. TCU, 14 catches, 206 yards and a touchdown. The other guy that made the 1 acrobatic catch in the end zone for Kansas was another Quentin. It was the Quentin game, apparently. Quentin Skinner was doing it on the other side for the Jayhawks. 4 receptions, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns. Had a touchdown that was crazy. Just dropped his knee in somehow. Got the knee down. I don't know how he got it in, but and it was, he couldn't overturn it. So a bunch of other guys scoring touchdowns there. And then not a lot of defensive stats. So I'm going to go with TCU linebacker Jamoy Hodge. 7 tackles, 5 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 pick. Kansas will be back. Depending on if Jalen Daniels has to miss any time, I think it's probably similar to the Bryce Young situation for Alabama. Because it was a right.
Bean looked good.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be set and still be competitive in Jalen Daniels' absence. I think the thing that'll change is kind of that the dynamic aspect that Daniels brought in the run game. But I think Bean will be good enough for them to win some games in the meantime.
Yeah, and that's the added advantage of having a veteran backup. I mean, Jason Bean's a senior, so he knows how to do it. On the flip side, like I said, I was comparing it to Alabama. They were playing a freshman and Jalen Milroe. So we'll talk about that game in a sec. But yeah, TCU -7 pushed and under 70.5 by 1.5. Number 23, Mississippi State crushing Arkansas 40-17. Mark has to be happy that I picked Mississippi State for him, and that he lone wolfed it, because you and I were on Woo Pig Suey. But Mike Leach, dude, he's got this offense just chugging. Will Rogers, 64.6% completion, 395, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. That's the game. And I didn't know KJ wasn't going to play.
Yeah. I mean, that was, me either. That was, obviously a huge component of the game. But Mississippi State, they have my full attention now, man. Like you said, Mike Leach has this offense humming. Will Rogers is looking incredibly sharp. So yeah, we'll see where they go. There's still a lot of ball left, but 5-1 in the SEC is really good.
Got to play Bama eventually.
Yep.
Being in the SEC West. So that'll be a game. And I would assume they will have Bryce Young back for that one. So I don't know. I'd have to look at when that game actually is. But yeah, That game is in 2 weeks in Tuscaloosa. So, yeah.
It's a tough ask.
But the quarterbacks for Arkansas that did play, Malik Hornsby, 8 of 17, 47.1%, 234, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Better on the ground, 8 carries, 114 yards. And then Cade Fortin, 2 of 6, 33.3%, 8 yards. Dylan Johnson, that's one thing that I think is being overlooked with the Mississippi State offense. Dylan Johnson has been running very well, and their run game has been going good. 17 carries, 100 yards even, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches for 49 yards for him. And then also, I guess this is kind of their like pounder and then their receiving back, because Jaquavius Marks, 16 carries, 52 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. But then he caught 11 balls for 80 yards, was their leading receiver on the day. So that's a lot of receptions for a running back in one game. Good Lord. And then 100-yard receiver in this one, Arkansas wide receiver Jaden Hazelwood, the Oklahoma transfer, 3 catches, 113 yards. Defensively, I'm going to go with Arkansas linebacker Drew Sanders. 16 tackles, 3 solos, 1 pass deflection, and a QB hurry. That's the thing, dude. They got Sanders and Poole are like one of the best linebacker combos in the country, but they can't do everything. Mississippi State covered -8.5, over 55.5. Red River showdown. One team showed and the other team was down, so I guess it makes sense in the name. I don't like that they changed it to a showdown. I think they should have kept it at shootout. I don't know why they changed it. Probably some stupid political thing against guns or whatever. I don't know. But these teams are in Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Everyone's got guns. But man, dude, 49-0. Oklahoma shut out for the first time in a long time. And this was the biggest loss in the series since like 66 or something like that. But yeah, Quinn Ewers was great. 67.7%, 289, 4 touchdowns, a pick, 2 carries, 17 yards. And Bijan was Bijan, 22 carries, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches for 15 yards.
Yeah.
And no Dylan Gabriel in this game.
Yeah. And obviously that makes a big difference, but still, to get shut out in a game like this, it's your biggest game on your schedule every year. It's tough. And Hudson Card looked good in relief of Quinn Ewers, but I can't help but wonder what Texas's record would look like if he hadn't gone down with that injury. So yeah, I mean, really impressed with Sarkisian for how he's been able to kind of instill some hype back into Texas, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're keeping alive in the Big 12 despite being unranked. They are ranked again though now. Tied with Kentucky for number 22. So they are back in the top 25 after this game. Davis Bevel struggled mightily. 6 of 12, 50%, 38 yards and a pick. Maybe they should have went to General Booty, which is they were talking about this dude on College Game Day, and it's like that's the greatest probably name I've ever heard.
Yes.
There's literally a guy named first name General, last name Booty, and Pat McAfee was having a ball with his name.
Yeah. I mean, you look at that stat, like, what did you have to lose, man? Like, look, General Booty comes in and leads a comeback against Texas. Forget it, man. The statue's going up, like, after the game. Why not?
Well, and you think they would have learned from last year. That's what happened last year. Tulane Gabriel came in the Red River shootout, and they won after they were down a lot with Spencer Rattler struggling. So, you know, Brent Venables got to try at least. It doesn't help when you run a trick play and your running back throws an interception. Like Eric Gray did, 11 carries, 59 yards, 1 of 2 passing and a pick. So yeah, that was fun. Texas's other running back, Keelan Robinson, he caught a touchdown. Leading receiver in the game, Jordan Whittington, 5 catches, 97 yards. He's having a fantastic season. And then Texas tight end Jatavian Sanders, 5 catches, 71 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. Defensively, not a lot here, but Texas defensive lineman Keandre Coburn, 3 tackles, 1 solo, a half a sack, and 2 tackles for loss. Texas cover -7.5, under 65. Purdue upsetting the Terps in College Park, 31-29. Aiden O'Connell, what a day, 73.2%, 360, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and a fumble. Talia Tagovailoa matched him essentially, 68.4%, 315, 3 touchdowns, a pick, and a rushing touchdown. Neither team could run the ball at all. And 200-yard receivers here, tight ends. Payne Durham for Purdue, 7 catches, 190 yards, and a touchdown. And Corey Dykes for Maryland, 4 catches, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns for them. I didn't watch this whole game, but I got the end. Maryland went down, scored it, got the 29, had to go for 2. They didn't get the 2. But the touchdown itself, to get to the 2-point conversion, was a crazy good play by Talia. Kind of falling down, rolled out to the right, kind of falling down, getting tackled, and he just threw it into the end zone somehow and found his guy near the sideline there.
Yeah. Both these teams are tough outs, man. Like, you look on your schedule and you see them coming down the pipe and you're a little nervous because they'll hang around. They're both kind of those teams where it's like upset watch. And Purdue has been more recently, seems like every season now they somehow upset, some ranked team when they aren't supposed to. But I mean, that's evidenced here in kind of how this game unfolded, what it kind of looked like and how close it was.
Yeah, I feel bad for Talia because he doesn't get a lot of defensive help. I mean, even like against Michigan State, they were having a good day, but that one was still relatively close. So if Maryland can find a defense, I mean, there's not a lot of people that I don't think Talia couldn't beat.
Yep.
So, defensively, I'm going to go with Maryland linebacker Darrell Nchami. 4 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. Purdue +3 over 59.5 by the hook. Number 24, Cincinnati, 28-24 over USF. I have no clue what happened in this game because I didn't see it. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I thought Cincinnati would just crush USF because of how bad USF is. But I guess it's a conference game. It was in Cincinnati. Like, it's not even like they were on the road. They won by 4 points. And Ben Bryant was not very good. 71.4% is great, but only 178 yards, 2 touchdowns. He threw 2 picks. And, Jerry Bohannon was okay. 52.4%, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he had 14 carries for 117 yards. That was probably what kept the Bulls in the game. Let's see, Charles McClellan was the offense though for the Bearcats. 21 carries, 179 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. This obviously this isn't the Cincinnati of last year. You don't expect them to be with just the sheer amount of talent that they lost on both sides of the ball. But I mean, yeah, I mean they're still going to be competitive in the American Conference. Um, you know, they might win it by default with how some of the conference play goes about. But yeah, they'll definitely have to play better. And not play down to their competition.
100-yard receiver in this game, wide receiver Xavier Weaver for USF, 7 receptions, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns for them. Defensively, gonna go with the bottom guy, linebacker Wilson Huber for Cincinnati, 8 tackles, 2 solos, 2.5 tackles for loss, and a QB hurry. USF plus 27. Under 58.5. Deep South's oldest rivalry wasn't really a game. Number 2 Georgia crushing Auburn 42-10 between the hedges. Stetson was decent, 68.8%, 208, 3 carries, 64 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. Had a miraculous 61-yard rushing touchdown where the kid put on the speed.
Who knew he had the wheels, man?
Yeah, dude. I said, holy crap, man. I can't believe he actually ran that. But Robbie Ashford for Auburn struggled mightily, 34.2%, 165 yards, a touchdown, 9 carries, 52 yards, and a fumble of his own doing, hitting his thigh or knee, whatever it was that made him fumble. But you saw Georgia carry the second half of the Missouri game over to this game. They committed to the run, they stuck with it, and then once Auburn got tired on defense, they were just gashing them. Kenny McIntosh got injured in this game, was it Kendall? No, Kenny got hurt. And then, but it didn't matter. Kendall Milton, and I finally got the McIntosh injury allowed my guy Dejon Edwards, who I wanted to see. I said last week I wanted to see him get more carries since he was so effective against Missouri. He got more carries in this one, and he was crazy good. 12 carries, 83 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Had the hat trick, 1 reception for 0 yards there. He wasn't the leading ball carrier in the game, though. Branson Robinson, the freshman, 12 carries, 98 yards, and a touchdown, was their leader.
Yeah, this was a really good get back game. I had so many people in my mentions last week saying, Georgia's overrated. They let the worst team in the SEC hang around, which I don't think Missouri's the worst team in the SEC, but whatever.
Yeah.
Like I think I said last week on the show, like I'm not worried about Georgia. Like I'm not. Their defense is still too good. The offense is fine. Stetson Bennett is kind of like the ultimate game manager for that team. And as long as he continues to do that, they can go as far as they want. They're going to have a tough road to hoe, like I said, with some teams that are kind of scary, like Tennessee, who they'll have to face. But there's no reason why this team can't repeat.
Yeah, starting in 2 weeks, they have the gauntlet to the SEC championship. The Florida Georgia game is or 3 weeks is that game, October 29th. And then the thing is, like, they host Tennessee. Big advantage for Georgia in that respect. And they haven't announced the time for that yet. I would assume that is a night game. And then, they got to go to Oxford, or not Oxford. They have to go to Starkville to play Mississippi State, and they have to go to Lexington to play Kentucky, which by that point I would expect Will Levis would be back.
Mm-hmm.
So that 4-game stretch is going to tell to see if Georgia's going to be back in the playoff or not. But yeah, Ladd McConkey, leading receiver in the game, 5 catches, 47 yards, and defensively, not a lot of special stats. So I'm going to go with Auburn defensive end Colby Wooden, 5 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, and a tackle for loss. Georgia covered. I cashed on this one, minus 27.5 and over 49.5. Number 7, Oklahoma State, 41-31 over Texas Tech. I know I saw some people that were like, whoa, Texas Tech's holding in there. And they were for most of the game. Oklahoma State got ahead late. But how about he's a freshman, I believe, Baron Morton for the Red Raiders, 62.9%, 379, 2 touchdowns and a pick, 16 carries, 46 yards and a touchdown. Spencer Sanders struggled, 48.9% completion, 297, a touchdown, 17 carries, 56 yards, 2 scores on the ground. So I think that's kind of the thing. Like if Spencer struggles passing, he can always run the ball. So I think Oklahoma State's fine.
Yeah. Yep. I feel like he's one of those guys, you let him work on the ground and that can help him in the passing game. He gets into a rhythm. And you can win like that in college football. But, I just want to keep hammering home, man. The Big 12 play has been probably some of the most fun we've seen in college football this season. And it continues to be because each of the teams basically has a chance to beat any of the other teams. There's not really a whole lot of scrubs right now, which is kind of a complete turnaround from what kind of we all expected in when the news came through that Texas and Oklahoma were leaving. So yeah, good for them, and I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Yeah, just like I said with Georgia, Oklahoma State is running the gauntlet starting this week at TCU. They host Texas. They go to Kansas State and to Kansas. So 4 games going to define the season for Oklahoma State there. 300-yard receivers in this game. Texas Tech wide receiver Jerand Bradley, 8 catches, 119 yards and a touchdown. Oklahoma State wide receiver Bryson Green, 5 catches, 115 yards and a touchdown. And then Texas Tech wide receiver Trey Cleveland, 8 catches, 100 yards even. A boatload of defensive stats in this game. I have no clue who to pick, but I think I'm going to go to Oklahoma State defensive end Brock Martin, 4 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, and 2 QB hurries. He's a guy that could be drafted.
Mm-hmm.
Texas Tech cover plus 11.5 over 65.5. I think I did mention you should take the over in this game. Number 18, UCLA, 42-32 over number 11, Utah. This one was a lot closer than just 10 points. Utah got a pick 6 late. That helped them get to within 10. But I lone wolfed the Bruins. Who would have thought? I've been a Utah hater since they lost to Florida week 1. And it culminated finally in this game. DTR is playing at another level right now. 78.3%, 299, 4 touchdowns and a pick. Also chipped on a rushing touchdown. Chip Kelly, it's going to come to a head against USC. They had to play Oregon this week, and the USC game isn't until November 19th. But I'm just saying, what they get past Oregon in Eugene this weekend, we're going to see the Pac-12 championship preview at the Rose Bowl in like a month.
Yeah. That's another conference, man, that like everyone, including myself, kind of wrote off, and it's just been really good football, this year. Um, and this game really shocked me, not because I thought UCLA was fraudulent or anything like that, but because I just figured that Utah would win based on better coaching. I thought it would be kind of a close game, but I thought Utah would be able to pull it out. And credit to UCLA, man. They're humming. And like you said, DTR is playing out of his mind right now. It's cool to see him really put it together. And yeah, I mean, he keeps playing that way. Sky's the limit for them.
Um, how good now does this look on the Big Ten compared to the SEC, right? The SEC is getting Texas and Oklahoma. They're kind of down right now. Now, Texas, like I said, got back into the rankings this week, but Oklahoma's trash without Dylan Gabriel. But UCLA and USC, the Big Ten acquired, I mean, they're amazing right now. Both in the top 15, UCLA up to 11 now. USC down to 7.
Yeah, I mean, as a Badger fan, I was honestly thrilled when I got that news. I know a lot of people were very, I guess they viewed it kind of questionably. Obviously, geographically, it makes no sense, but I feel like we just kind of have to get rid of that because, like, the way college football is trending, like, that doesn't matter a whole lot. For me, it was just about making the conference a little bit more competitive, especially the West Division. If they do keep kind of that geographic element, because the West Division of the Big Ten has been terrible for years. Even before Wisconsin, kind of started struggling. It hasn't been very competitive. So I think anytime you get a chance to inject talent in your conference, it boosts every school in the conference.
Yeah, I think with them going over, if they do keep the division, I think that would work fine. But I kind of would like to see it go to what a lot of other conferences are going to, a non-division system.
Yeah.
Play the best 2 teams in the conference championship.
Yep.
It just is better for competition.
Yeah. And I think it makes much more sense instead of the geographic model, because of we're kind of doing away with that.
Yeah. But the rest of this game here, Cam Rising for Utah, 71.9%, 287, 1 pick, 13 carries, 59 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a fumble. Zach Charbonnet is the other element of the UCLA offense. He is also just chugging the wheels. 22 carries, 198 yards, and a touchdown. He has been great since he came over from Michigan last year in a transfer. Leading receiver in the game, Devon Vele for Utah, 6 catches, 87 yards. My guy, wide receiver, Jake Bobo, 3 catches, 22 yards, 2 touchdowns. He is a great transfer that they got from Duke this year. Who would have thought kid from Duke would be playing very well on the opposite coast? And then defensively, have to go. I mean, Clark Phillips is just good. I mean, he's better than good. He's great, fantastic, whatever adjective you want to use. 2 tackles, a solo, an 80-yard pick 6.
Yep.
I mean, he had 3 picks a couple of weeks ago or last week, whenever it was. And I believe I'm not exactly sure, but I believe he's leading the country in interceptions. If not, he's tied for the lead. Yeah, he's tied for first with 5 on the season. So, first round pick.
Yep. I think honestly you can lock him in at this point. I mean, that production is absurd. I mean, you always draft traits over production, but I mean, the guy has both, in my opinion. And really, this cornerback class is looking insane right now. Like, if the draft was tomorrow, that might be the strongest position group.
So he is draft eligible then, because again, I hate ESPN because they don't put red shirts on there. So
Yeah.
he'd be a red shirt sophomore because it shows sophomore on ESPN.
Yep. Yeah, he's eligible.
Okay. Yeah, and all 5 picks that came the last 3 weeks. He had
Mhm.
one against Arizona State, 3 against Oregon State, and 1 against UCLA. He's going for the hat trick though. This next game against USC, he's going for the pick 4 in picks in a row, and then he's going for the hat trick. If he can score a touchdown again, he scored defensive touchdowns back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
So trying to get one off of Caleb Williams, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, and he's got probably his toughest assignment yet against Jordan Addison. That is going to be appointment television right there. 2 first-round talents going at it.
UCLA +3 over 64.5. Liberty 42-24 over UMass. Yeah, the quarterback play was not very good here. Jonathan Bennett for the Flames, 50% completion, 9 of 18, 183 yards, 2 touchdowns, 9 carries, 50 yards. Their other quarterback, Nate Hampton, 3 of 5, 60%, 76 yards. Neither quarterback for UMass was that great. Garrett DeZuro, 5 of 7, 71.4%, 83 yards. And then Gino Campiotti, 1 of 7, 14.3%, 5 yards and a pick, 13 carries, 14 yards. So yeah, I mean, what else would you expect? UMass is not good. They haven't. I don't know when UMass has ever been good. So, yeah. One good performance in this game though for UMass, running back Greg DeRosier Jr., 7 carries, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 3-yard reception. And then a couple performances for Liberty here. Shedra Lewis, 9 carries, 26 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 21-yard catch. And then probably their best player, I would think, for Liberty, Demario Douglas, the wide receiver, 4 catches, 134 yards, and a touchdown. And then defensively, got to go with UMass. Defensive back Jordan Mahoney, 3 tackles, 2 solos, and a 22-yard fumble returned for a touchdown. Steven Sings the fifth has my honorable mention for Liberty. UMass did cover plus 22.5 and over 45.5 this game was at. Sailed over that one. Tulane 5-1 Green Wave, 24-9 over ECU. Yeah, I had the spread with ECU, and that was never the play. It was. I mean, Holton Ahlers, the Tulane defense is just so good, and that's how they've been winning games. And you look, they got their quarterback back for this game, and you saw the difference. I mean, 79.4% for Michael Pratt, 326, 2 touchdowns and a rushing touchdown, no turnovers. Holton Ahlers for the Pirates, on the other hand, 62.7%, 288, 1 touchdown. He threw 2 picks, and then he also chipped on 6 carries for 17 yards. So you're saying about Cincinnati might win the conference. I think I'm picking Tulane at this point.
Yeah, they've looked really impressive, and it's credit that they've been able to kind of turn around, right the ship there. Yeah, I mean, it does look like those are kind of the two best teams. If it happened today, I don't know who I would pick out of that. But yeah, I think those are your 2 favorites right there.
Yeah. Yeah, they are there. UCF is 4-2 and Memphis, or UCF is 4-1 and Memphis is 4-2 right now. So that's your top four in the American. But yeah. Deuce Watts, wide receiver for Tulane, leading receiver in the game, 4 catches, 93 yards and touchdown. And then defensively have to go with ECU defensive lineman Chad Stevens, 7 tackles, 5 solos, a half a sack, 2.5 tackles for loss, and 3 QB hurries. Tulane cover -2.5, under 55.5. Small print because a lot of points scored. Number 3, Ohio State, rolling Michigan State 49-20 at the in East Lansing. Actually, I was about to say at the shoe. It was at Michigan State. Yeah, CJ Stroud. I mean, give him the Heisman. 80.8%, 361, 6 touchdowns and a pick. That was his decent day.
Yeah, not too shabby, whatever.
And I actually had to root for Ohio State as much as I hated it. I put a play in on the Ohio State spread because I knew Michigan State was trash. But it barely cashed. I had to hold my breath as Ohio State kept scoring, but they allowed Michigan State to score 3 times. Peyton Thorne, 61.1%, 113 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. You had Noah Kim come in and replace him, 6 of 10, 60%, 82 yards, and a touchdown. And then Kyle McCord came in for CJ Stroud late through 2 passes, completed both for 16 yards. Michigan State couldn't run the ball at all. Elijah Collins, leading ball carrier for them. 2 carries, 9 yards. That was their leading rusher on the day. Travion Henderson, however, for Ohio State, 19 carries, 118 yards, a touchdown, and 1 catch for -2 yards. And the receivers, Emeka Egbuka, 5 catches, 143 yards, a touchdown. And then Marvin Harrison Jr., all that he did was catch 7 balls for 131 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's absurd. And the thing I'll say is that Ohio State's offenses look like the best probably in college football. So far, maybe USC too, they've looked pretty good. But they're doing this without who is still, in my opinion, their best offensive weapon in Jackson Smith-Njigba. That's kind of a bold statement considering just how well Egbuka and Harrison Jr. have played and how talented those 2 guys are. But I think people have kind of slept on JSN. Obviously, he hasn't really played through 6 games, but I think we're forgetting just how dynamic he was last year. And I think how dynamic he can be again. And that's just going to make OSU even more dangerous. So something to watch going forward.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. I don't know if Egbuka or Marvin Harrison Jr. are red shirts or not, because ESPN lists them as sophomores. But Egbuka, their leading receiver in terms of yards, with 655, also leader in receptions for them, 35 catches. Marvin Harrison Jr. leads them in touchdowns. He has 9 on the season. But yeah, Jackson Smith-Njigba, 4 catches for 36 yards on the year since being injured.
Yep. Yeah, I think both those guys, Egbuka and Harrison, are draft eligible next year.
So Ohio State's going to have 3 first-round wide receivers.
Yes.
Defensively, got to go with Michigan State corner Charles Brantley, 8 tackles, 3 solos, a half a tackle for loss, and a 32-yard pick 6. Michael Hall, though, he continues to be a driving force on the Buckeye defense at his defensive tackle spot. 3 tackles, 2 solos, 2.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. Ohio State covered, like I said, -27, cashed that one, and the over 64.5. Number 9, Ole Miss, 52-28 over Vandy. I was pissed at this game. So I keep calling Ole Miss the most fraudulent team in the top 25. And I still think that statement is valid because they were losing big time. They were down 20-10 against Vandy at one point, and then they started scoring in the second half, and Vandy could not. Ole Miss scored 28 in a row or 29 in a row in the third quarter, and that was it. That's how the game pretty much got out of hand for Vandy. But look, I had Vandy plus 17, right? And they were pushing. They were going to push. I don't it made no sense to me. I thought it was such bad sportsmanship on Lane Kiffin's part to keep throwing the ball. And they went for the touchdown after Vandy onside kicked. And they went down and scored a touchdown. I just thought that was the biggest asshole move and so unsportsmanlike, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I think he'd probably say, he's just trying to execute. It's basically like practice in game. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like you said, I wouldn't do it. Maybe it's a little bit of a Bush League move. Yeah.
Yeah, if I was Vanderbilt's head coach, I would have went right for Lane Kiffin and bitched him out at the end because I would have been pissed off at seeing that, especially after they had gotten like 2 first downs already, which if they wouldn't have kept going for the score, if they would have actually tried to run out the clock, they would have been able to run it out after the second first down. So, yeah, I will continue my Ole Miss hate, and they're on a bye, I believe, this week. No, they play Auburn, so they'll win. They're going to keep winning. I mean, they play Auburn and LSU the next 2, and the hope is that they lose in College Station to A&M. If not, it's okay because they have a date with Alabama. Granted, they have it at home, so they get that advantage of having Bama come to Oxford. But other than that, they got the Egg Bowl at the end of the season. Their schedule's not that hard, especially with Arkansas going downhill. LSU not playing up. They're 4-2, but they're not that good, and A&M doesn't really have a quarterback. So, yeah, I do not like Ole Miss right now. But Jackson Dart, 78.1%, 448, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, 2 carries, 15 yards. This was his best game by far this season. Against Vandy, though.
I love it. Number 1 certified Ole Miss hater.
AJ Swan played pretty well though for Vandy. 71.1%, 281, 2 touchdowns and a fumble. That was probably the best quarterback performance Vandy has seen this year, other than when they just crushed Hawaii. But that was Michael Wright running the ball all over and not passing. So Vandy running back Ray Davis, 27 carries, 105 yards, a touchdown, 4 catches for 22 yards. Ole Miss running back Quinshon Judkins, 11 carries, 46 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 14-yard catch. And then couple 300-plus yard guys. Jonathan Mingo went crazy in this game for Ole Miss, 9 catches, 247, 2 touchdowns. Jordan Watkins for Ole Miss, 7 catches, 117 yards, and a touchdown. And then Vandy wide receiver Jaden McGowan, 7 catches, 104 yards, and a touchdown. How do you like Mingo? Is he going to be another Ole Miss receiver in the league?
Could be, man. You keep putting up stat lines like that. I mean, 27.4 average yards per catch. That's asinine. That's absurd.
Yeah, he caught 2 long touchdowns in the game. One from 71 and 72. So that was most of his yards. 143 of his yards there on 2 catches. Defensively, gonna go with Vandy, linebacker DeRicky Wright, 4 tackles, all of them solos, pass deflection, and 2 picks, caught both off of Jackson Dart. See, like that's the thing, like you can't throw 2 picks against Bama and expect to win.
Yeah.
So have fun with that. When he does that, but it's okay. I will be hammering whatever the spread is. When they play Alabama. Ole Miss cover -17 over 59.5. Arizona State, this was the lone upset, right, of a top 25 team this weekend. There was 2. Unless you count UCLA beating Utah an upset, because it technically was, but specifically speaking, unranked versus ranked, this was one of only 2 upsets this weekend. And a crazy one at that. I mean, who would have thought Arizona State would be the team to beat Washington? But they did, 45-38. Michael Penix, 62.3%, 311, 1 pick, and a rushing touchdown. And I think Arizona State won because Emory Jones got hurt. He was 7 of 9, 77.8%, and 59 yards before he got hurt. But the freshman was fantastic. Trenton Bourget, 15 of 21, 71.4% completion, 182 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. And this was finally Xavier Valade finally went back to his Wyoming production in this game. 23 carries, 111 yards, and a touchdown, 4 catches, 22 yards, and another score there. So yeah, I kind of wish I would have watched this game because it sounded like a fun one.
Yeah, man. And just after I had turned heel and started voicing my support for Washington and everything they were doing, they go and betray me like that. Always trust your gut. But yeah, I mean, credit to Arizona State, man. I mean, you lose your head coach mid-season. You got all this kind of recruiting violation controversy going on. You're massive underdogs against a ranked opponent. You're 1-4, they're 4-1, and you come out and you just beat them in a shootout. You know, that's the kind of galvanizing win that can cause a team to kind of start building some momentum. So good on them.
Yeah, for Washington, Cameron Davis, 9 carries, 77 yards. He scored 3 touchdowns on the ground. 100-yard receiver in this one. Wide receiver Ro Madunzi continues to have a great season. 9 catches, 115 yards. Wide receiver Elijah Badger for Arizona State, 7 catches, 53 yards, 2 touchdowns. Does he need to become a Wisconsin Badger now?
I saw a tweet.
They're transferring. They're looking to get into the portal next year.
I saw a tweet. Someone said the Badgers better have done everything they could to try and recruit Elijah Badger to Madison.
It sounds like that would be he would get a lot of NIL money with that last name.
Right.
And then defensively, there's only one choice. Arizona State defensive back Jordan Clark, 9 tackles, all of them solos, 1 tackle for loss, a pass deflection, and a 38-yard pick 6. Arizona State plus 13.5 over 56 easily. 83 points. Georgia Tech, don't look now, but here come the Yellow Jackets, winners of 2 in a row. 23-20 over Duke in overtime. This one was in Atlanta. Jeff Sims, 67.6%, 227, 2 touchdowns, 17 carries, 95 yards, and he caught a 1-yard reception. Riley Leonard struggled a lot. 20 of 41, that's 48.8%. 136 yards, 1 touchdown and a pick, 9 carries, 29 yards. And yeah, I mean, they fired Jeff Collins, and now look at them. They're 500.
Yeah, I'm not usually a big fan of, kind of like mid-season fires or whatever. But sometimes it's necessary to see kind of what else you have on the coaching staff. Yeah, and this is an example of that.
Yeah, Tech won this by kicking a field goal in overtime, and then Duke missed their game-tying field goal. 100-yard receiver here, wide receiver Nate McCollum, 8 receptions, 101 yards, and a touchdown. You would have never thought we would see a Georgia Tech 100-yard receiver when we were back in the days of Paul Johnson and the triple option, but they have completely changed it to a spread offense, and they have slowly begun to get players in that can run the offense and get away from the triple option. Defensively, gonna go with Georgia Tech linebacker Ayinde Ely, 9 tackles, 3 solos, a half a sack, half a tackle for loss, and 2 QB hurries. And then have to mention also wide receiver Samir Higgins for Duke. He had an 81-yard punt return touchdown. Georgia Tech plus 3.5, under 54. UNC 27-24 over Miami. Yeah, I was mad. I had Miami minus 3.5. And they had a chance. I mean, Van Dyke was driving them down there, got to close to midfield and got pressure over. He sailed one and threw a pick to end the game. But best game by far for him. Even though it never felt like Miami was even close. It felt like UNC was dominating most of the game, and the Hurricanes hung around and had a chance at the end. And I was like, bro, let's go. Like, if they can score a touchdown and win the game, that is 4-point cover. That covers the 3.5. That's what we need. But yeah, Van Dyke 73.7%, 496, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Drake May has been great, 67.9%, 309, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 14 carries, 53 yards.
Yeah. When I saw Van Dyke's stat line, I was like, wow, okay, like that's what everyone's been waiting for, but now it's too late. Like it took too long. You waited too long. But yeah, Drake May, man, has been crazy. He's been crazy good. That 24 QB class could be very special. Everyone's been talking about this QB class with Stroud and Young, but you look at him, you look at Caleb Williams, potentially Anthony Richardson if he stays and develops. But yeah,
I thought May was a true freshman.
No, I think he was a freshman last year. I could be wrong, but I think he's draft eligible next year.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say the 2025 number 1 overall pick, Drake May. But hey, 2024 number 1 overall pick works too. As long as he doesn't follow in the other UNC quarterback steps and just is absolutely terrible in the NFL.
Yeah, we don't talk about them.
But hey, we don't know about Sam Howell yet. We do not know.
That's true. And he might get a shot without their playing. So,
well, hey, he can beat Justin Fields on Thursday. That's fine. But the rushing game wasn't that great. Caleb Hood for UNC, 13 carries, 74 yards, 5 catches, 50 yards. Miami couldn't run the ball at all. And then Will Mallory, he's having a good season. Tight end for the Hurricanes, 8 catches, 115 yards. And he was literally the only guy that Van Dyke was going to on that final drive. Consistently, they converted a couple 4th downs on that drive. And it was just number 85 was the only guy he was looking to. So, defensively, Gonna go with Miami linebacker Corey Flagg Jr. 7 tackles, 5 solos, a half a sack, and 3 tackles for loss. UNC cover +4, under 67.5. Utah State, the upset, 34-27 over Air Force. Dude, Cooper Legis is very good. I'm telling you, I watched him when he came in a couple weeks ago after who was their starter? I don't remember who initially was their starter. But their starter got hurt. Legis came in and played well, not well enough to win that game. Give me a sec here. Yeah, against BYU, I think their starter got hurt. No. It was the UNLV game, their starter got hurt. Yeah. Yeah, Logan Bonner, I believe, got hurt in the UNLV game. Cooper Legis didn't play that game, but he played against BYU, played very well against BYU, only losing by 12 points there. But yeah, I mean, he was great. 78.3%, 215, 2 touchdowns, the pick, 13 carries, 76 yards, and a touchdown. That's his biggest thing is he's a very good ball carrier and runner. So they got it done, and this one was at home for Utah State, which helped out. And I was on the Utah State spread, so I was loving it.
Yeah, next great Utah State quarterback after future Pro Football Hall of Famer Jordan Love. It's a pipeline.
Oh, you mean the guy that the Packers are gonna let go after not seeing him play more than 5 games?
More than preseason games. Yeah.
Hey, he has 2 career starts, okay. Hazik Daniels was not very good. 41.7%, 5 of 12, 95 yards, a touchdown and a pick, 10 carries, 34 yards and a touchdown. It's never a good game for Air Force when your quarterback is throwing 12 times. Not good for Air Force when you have that many attempts passing. But my favorite dude for Air Force, Brad Roberts, had another great game. That's all he does. 29 carries, 136 yards, and a touchdown. He's going to make a great NFL fullback for some team. But I'm excited about that. And then Calvin Tyler had a good game. 19 carries, 109 yards, a touchdown, 2 catches for 1 yard. And Tyler is a guy that came from Oregon State last year and is continuing to produce for the Aggies. Brian Cobbs, wide receiver for Utah State, 100-yard receiver, 8 catches, 136 yards and a touchdown. Defensively, Air Force linebacker T.D. Blackman, 12 tackles, 5 solos, 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss. Were you hoping that I would pick AJ as my defensive player of the game?
I kind of was, just to see if you could continue your streak of pretty good pronunciation.
Well, Utah State linebacker AJ Vongphachanh. He had 13 tackles and a solo.
Nice. Pro's pro right there.
Utah State plus 11.5, over 53.5. JMU. The Dukes are 5-0 and continuing toward my projected 14-0 top 10 season for the JMU Dukes in their first year of FBS play. 42-20 over Arkansas State. Now, they struggled early. It was a good game in the first half. I was very excited. This game was on national TV. Not really. It was on NFL Network for those who have NFL Network, which I love that NFL Network's putting on college games every week now. It's great. But I was happy I finally got to watch a JMU game. And look, Todd Centeio coming over from Colorado State, he has been just electric in this offense. 75.7%, 394 and 4 touchdowns, 4 carries, 10 yards, no turnovers. That's the thing, no turnovers. And the JMU offense is just great. That's it.
If they go 14-0, I want them in the playoff. No, really, it's absurd, man. You make the jump from FCS and you're undefeated. I mean, just hats off to JMU. Love to see it. And like I've said before, I hope that it kind of maybe encourages some other well-known FCS teams to make the jump.
Yeah, and look, the week 13 schedule, I'm just projecting to see where College Game Day can go week 13. Because I know where I'd like it to go. I need College Game Day in Myrtle Beach.
Yes.
For James Madison versus Coastal Carolina.
On the green turf. Let's get it.
Because there's really not a lot of games that like Game Day could pick. Now, obviously, they have the Iron Bowl. Auburn is at Alabama this year, but Auburn's not that good, so why would you go there? You have the Civil War, which could be very good this year. Oregon is in Corvallis at Oregon State. Kansas State. I don't know what that rivalry is called, but that one will be a ranked matchup, I have to believe. So that could be an option. Or no, it's not. It's at JMU. We need Game Day to go to Harrisonburg, Virginia, to the purple and gold or whatever color that tan color is that I don't know what they call that tan color thing, but we need JMU to go to Harrisonburg because I will be there if they go. I will drive down because this is Thanksgiving Saturday. I will drive down to Harrisonburg and go to this game. You have the Apple Cup, Washington State, Minnesota, Wisconsin, which will not be that good this year. And
that's
then,
like your opinion, man.
And then other than that, okay, so they'll probably go to Columbus. That's where they're going to go. It's the big one, Michigan at Ohio State. That's probably where they're going to go. That's really the only other game that I can see them choosing this game over. But I'm just saying, I'll go to Game Day in Harrisonburg if it's probably only about 3 or 4 hours from my home. So
yeah, what's a 3-hour car
ride? But yeah, James Blackman for Arkansas State, 61.5%, 247, 2 touchdowns, a fumble. Percy Obise is having a really good season, 21 carries, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then wide receiver Chris Thornton, 9 catches, 173 yards for the Dukes. Defensively, I'm going to go with JMU defensive lineman Isaac Ukwu, 6 tackles, 5 solos, 2 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. And the number 25, James Madison Dukes covered 11.5. And this was the first week I finally took their spread, and I will be taking their spread every single week from here on out. Over 55 hit. They finally, I think I said about them getting ranked last week, and they finally got the ranking this week at 25. Number 5, Clemson 31-3 romp over Boston College. This one was in Boston. DJ 58.1%, 223 touchdowns, a pick, 12 carries, 69 yards. And this one, I saw it was like 3-3 for a little bit, and it was just kind of holding there. And I was like, what is happening? Like, is BC about to do it right now? And then Clemson became Clemson again and rolled. Phil Dracovic, 47.5%, 188, one fumble. Probably the reason why Boston College was in this game early was because Clemson couldn't run the ball. Other than DJ scrambling, you see that Maffa was their leading rusher with 36 yards, and Shipley scored a touchdown, but he only had 33 yards. So, yeah, I mean, Clemson moved up. They moved to number 4 because Michigan struggled in Indiana. And that was why. But
I'm not seeing it. I just think that the ACC has a few teams that are, again, kind of those scrappy kind of things. I don't see Clemson coming out unscathed. And I don't feel as though they've played a whole lot of teams. I know the NC State game was a pretty good win. But yeah, I mean, we'll see where they go from here.
I think the NC State game changes if it's at NC State, like it was last year when they lost to NC State. Zay Flowers for Boston College, leading receiver, 8 catches, 75 yards. He's an NFL dude.
Yep.
And defensively, I'm going to go with Clemson defensive tackle Tyler Davis, another NFL dude. 4 tackles, 3 solos, 1.5 tackles for loss, and 3 QB hurries. Tyler Davis, the future Philadelphia Eagle.
You have enough.
No, bro. Fletcher is going to retire probably next year. We need another defensive tackle to run along with Hargrave and Davis. We need 2 Davises.
Well, you might have a top 15 pick the way the Saints are playing.
Top 5. Clemson cover -21, under 48.5. Number 6, USC. I'm getting my words all mixed up. Number 6, USC, 30-14 over Washington State. Caleb Williams, not that good this game. 51.7%, 188, 2 touchdowns, 9 carries, 34 yards. Was helped out by his good buddy Travis Dye, the Oregon transfer. 28 carries, 149 yards, a touchdown, 3 catches, 18 yards. Cam Ward, 59.4%, 172, 2 touchdowns. And he had his own 100-yard rusher, and Jalen Jenkins, 13 carries, 130 yards, 2 catches, 54 yards. You notice who's not on the screen?
Yeah, it's your boy.
Jordan Addison's not. Mario Williams had a great game, though. Another Oklahoma transfer, 4 catches, 82 yards, 2 touchdowns. So this is 2 games, though, now that Addison's been shut down. Oregon State, Washington State. So
yeah.
What to see? Utah, Clark Phillips coming up.
Yep. I have to imagine it's because he's getting doubled now.
Yeah. But yeah, Mario Williams can get it done. And defensively, how can you not go with anyone else other than defensive lineman Tuli Pulotu? 5 tackles, 4 solos, 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and 1 QB hurry. Marlon's brother, I believe, playing in the NFL. For my Eagles, I think he's on the, unless he went somewhere else, I don't know. USC covered -12, under 64.5. Yeah, I screwed that one up. I said take the over. I thought there was going to be a lot more points than this one, but USC defense came up. South Carolina upsetting number 13 Kentucky 24-14. Asterisk. No Will Levis. I didn't know Will Levis wasn't going to play. It's like the KJ Jefferson thing. I didn't know. Will Levis didn't play it down in this game. It was Kaya Sharon, though, 55.6%, 178, 2 touchdowns and a pick. And Kentucky had chances to win this game. I mean, they were in it all game. It's just they couldn't put things on top of each other to get consistent drives and into scoring position. Spencer Rattler was efficient, 73.7%, 177, one touchdown and a pick and a fumble. So, turnovers continue with Spencer Rattler. It's what he's become.
That's a pretty standard Spencer Rattler game, I feel.
100-yard performers running the ball here. Chris Rodriguez, I think, is officially back. 22 carries, 126 yards, a fumble, and a 1-yard reception. And then Marshawn Lloyd for South Carolina, 22 carries, 110 yards, a touchdown, 2 receptions, 31 yards. I love Rodriguez.
Yeah, I got the notification for this game, the final on my phone, and it said, South Carolina upsets number 3 Kentucky. And I was like, oh wow, good for Beamer, and I saw Will Levis was out, and I was like, can you really call it an upset at that point? I mean, that changes the game so much. Not that, not to take away too much from South Carolina, but
And it was okay, never mind. I was thinking this game was in Columbia, but it was in Lexington. So defensively going to go with South Carolina linebacker Jordan Birch, 6 tackles, 3 solos, 1.5 sacks, 1.5 tackles for loss. South Carolina plus 4.5, under 44. Number 15, Wake Forest, 45-10, blowout over Army. To be expected. Army's not good this year. Sam Hartman, 68.4%, 246, a touchdown, 8 carries, 36 yards. Other than that, not much to talk about. Christian Turner for Wake, 8 carries, 46 yards, 2 touchdowns. And defensively, I'm going to go with Wake defensive lineman Kendron Wayman, 3 tackles, 1 solo, 1.5 sacks, 1.5 tackles for loss, and a QB hurry. Wake covered -16, under 65.5. Andre Smith not on the stat sheet here. Didn't get a sack on Sam Hartman. We won't have Army that many games, Andre. So the games we have Army, you gotta show up.
Yeah.
Notre Dame upsets number 16 BYU 28-20 at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas. We'll say the uni game in this one was fire.
Yes.
Dame wearing their Vegas uniforms. The BYU was wearing their all black, right? Or I can't remember what they were wearing.
Yeah, they were wearing their black alternates.
Yeah. But Jaron Hall struggled. I was confused. I only watched this game for a little bit. Why did he only throw it 17 times? That's my first thing. 17 attempts for Jaron Hall is not how you win. 9 of 17, 52.9%, 120 yards. Did throw 2 touchdowns with those 9 completions, but he also threw a pick, 5 carries, 11 yards. Drew Pine was very good for Notre Dame, 78.6%, 262, 3 touchdowns and a pick.
Yeah. I don't remember who I picked for this game, but I did feel like this was going to be a close game, and I felt like it was kind of going to be a toss-up game. I think, after a tough start to the season, Notre Dame is still going to finish as a pretty decent club. And I think Freeman is a good coach. And I think he's going to be a good coach at Notre Dame. I think it just takes some time. But the guy I want to highlight, man, Michael Mayer, man. I mean, dude's a stud. Some team is going to get a really good playmaker. He shouldn't be able to move like he does at that size. It shouldn't be allowed to happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, Baby Gronk had 11 receptions, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. Couple of good running performances. Aldrick Estime who I had never heard of until this game for Notre Dame. 14 carries, 97 yards, and a 13-yard reception. Christopher Brooks continues to be a driving force for the Cougar offense. 14 carries, 90 yards, and a touchdown. And then also wide receiver Cody Epps for BYU, 4 catches, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not a lot defensively, so I'm just going to go with my guy, linebacker Max Tooley for BYU. Love me some Max Tooley. 13 tackles, 7 solos, and a pick. I think I have a pretty good track record of picking linebackers. Picked Josie Jewell a couple years ago. He's doing very well for the Broncos. I can't remember who else I have picked that's doing well in the NFL, but I don't know. There's just certain guys, man, that I see and I like. Notre Dame minus 3.5 covered, under 51.5. Number 20, Kansas State. So we're going into the sleeper section of the games because this one and the next one were total snooze fests. I watched this game and somehow my eyes did not bleed from having to sit through almost this entire game. Yeah, number 20, Kansas State, 10-9 win over Iowa State. I did push my bet. I had Iowa State +1, and my roommate asked me why I took +1 instead of the money line. For one, it was only about I think 5 points difference in terms of the line I got. I think the spread was like -115 or -110, and the money line was -105. But this is why you take a +1 instead of the money line. Because you push instead of losing money. But yeah, Adrian Martinez, 63.2%, 246, a touchdown, 19 carries, 77 yards, and an 11-yard catch. Hunter Deckers, 57.9%, 198, 4 carries, 15 yards. Neither team could run the ball at all for running back wise. Brock and Giddens both struggled. 300-yard performers receiving wise in this game, though, somehow. Phillip Brooks for KSU, 4 catches, 119 yards, a touchdown. Malik Knowles for Kansas State as well, 5 catches, 108 yards. 1 of 1 passing for 11 yards, and he had a fumble as well. And then the dude, Xavier Hutchinson for Iowa State, 8 catches, 100 yards even. But yeah, this was gross.
It's Big Ten football right there, man. That's what it's supposed to look like.
But it's the Big 12.
I know.
Defensively, also the dude, defensive end Will McDonald, the 4th for Iowa State, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. That is a San Francisco 49er if I've ever seen one. Do they have enough too? Do the Niners have enough too? They don't need Will McDonald.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't like to see that in the NFC, but it'll happen somehow.
Iowa State. I wish I would have gotten this line because I would have won. But Iowa State +1.5 is what it closed at. But unfortunately for me, I got it 1. And then under 36.5. Yes, 36.5 was the over/under, and it still went under. How?
That's
or no,
absurd.
under 45 for this game. The next one was 36.5, and that one still went under. And this is what it was. This is what it was.
This I would have told you to take, though, the under. I could have seen this coming from a mile away.
It's one of those movie moments. I don't know what movie. I feel like it's been done, been said a bunch in a bunch of different movies. But it's one of those things where there's something gross and people don't want to look at it. And they're just like, look at it. Look at it. Because this is gross and you have to look at it, though. Illinois. They are 5-1 and leading the Big Ten West. Yes, the Illini are on a collision course for the Big Ten championship game.
That literally, you saying that literally made me nauseous.
Spencer Petras for Iowa, 50% completion, 174 yards and a pick. And two quarterbacks. I think Tommy DeVito got injured in this game. DeVito went 6 of 11, 54.5%, 42 yards, 4 carries, 21 yards. And then Artur Sikowski, 13 of 19, 68.4%, 74 yards, a pick, 4 carries, 15 yards. But it's Chase Brown. I mean, that's what Illinois is. It's one dude. It's Chase Brown. 31 carries, 146 yards, 4 catches, 17 yards. And then the only other thing to note here, tight end Sam Laporta having his best game of the season, I think, for the Hawkeyes, 9 catches, 100 yards even. And I also put on Illinois wide receiver Isaiah Williams, just for the fact that he fumbled twice. 3 catches, -7 yards. That's skill right there. That is skill. To catch the ball 3 times and to have a net of minus anything, let alone 7. That's some skilled work right there by Isaiah Williams.
Man, had to do him dirty and put him up on the PowerPoint slide.
2 carries for 3 yards, and then 2 fumbles. Yeah. If you fumble once, okay, you don't have to get on the slide unless you had 100 yards. But he fumbled twice. I mean, you got to be there.
It was the second one. He should have known that. I mean, it was bound to happen.
And then defensively, holy game by linebacker Seth Coleman for the Illini. 5 tackles, 4 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, and 4 QB hurries on Spencer Petras. Yeah, it's Illinois and everyone else in the Big Ten West.
That sounds so weird, dude. Like what? Like how did this happen? And like Iowa's such a weird team, man, because they have one of the best defenses in the FBS. They probably have the worst offense in the FBS, though. I'm not sure who has a worse offense than Iowa right now.
Yeah, Iowa literally probably has the number 1 defense in the country.
Mm-hmm.
They're averaging, they're allowing like 6 points a game.
Right. They have probably the best defense and probably the worst offense. I've never seen anything like it.
133rd offense. Wisconsin knew though. Bielema, dude. Wisconsin knows. Bielema already beat him. He's coming. Iowa did cover though. They got it by the hook, plus 3.5. And the under 36.5. How did I not hammer this? I don't know.
Yeah. I would have, if you had consulted me, I would have said, bet the mortgage, dude. Just bet the mortgage.
Iowa under. All right. Number 1 Alabama, 24-20 escape at home. I had live bet A&M. I wish I would have gotten them at the plus 800 that originally showed up on my screen, plus 825. But then like A&M got the ball back and it went down to 575. So I was like, damn it. I was like, I'll take it. I'll take it. You know, Texas A&M got 1 shot, 1 opportunity to seize everything they ever wanted. and they didn't capture it though. They did let it slip. Great M&M.
That's
dude, this stuff just comes to me. What can I say?
Just off the dome.
But Haynes King, dude, he had the chance. You're on the Alabama 2-yard line. And I know I tweeted out, I was like that's your play on first and ball game,
Yeah.
you're going to throw a fade stop
You saw
to
who
the
agreed with you,
outside.
right?
Yeah, I think so.
Johnny Mansell, man. He was ripping Jimbo a new one on Twitter.
Like, you literally didn't have a better play.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that. But Haynes King did a good job. I mean, 54.3%, 253, 2 touchdowns and a pick, 8 carries, 10 yards. The turnovers were just killing Alabama all day. They fumbled it 3 times, I believe, 2 from Jalen Milroe, who went 63.2%, 111 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick, 17 carries, 83 yards, and 2 fumbles. Jahmyr Gibbs was great again, though. 21 carries, 54 yards, 3 catches for 13 yards. And then Evan Stewart, 100-yard receiver in this one for A&M, 8 catches, 106 yards. And that's who they went to on the final play. But like you don't think if you're Jimbo, you don't think Saban is going to have him covered,
right?
Like it's only 2 yards. It's not like it's 20 where he has a lot of room to run.
Yeah, and I mean I'm all for game on the line. You want the ball, going to your best player, but like you have to draw up something more creative than like that, So.
Yeah. Defensively, I want to go with Fadil Diggs for A&M, but you can't not go with Will Anderson Jr. I mean, holy hell. 2 tackles, 1 solo. Okay. He had 1 tackle for loss. Bro, the man had 8 QB hurries in this game. Every time on the last drive, they were blitzing Will Anderson and he was coming in free. And Haynes had to throw away a couple balls. One that he completed, which was just, I don't know how. I think it was Stewart that caught that ball. He got over, he mossed essentially the Alabama guy, because the Alabama guy had a pick and it was just high enough for the A&M guy to catch the ball.
Yeah, it's funny. Will Anderson, kind of start the season, people were like, what's up with him? And it was just that he was being good, normally. He was just being a good football player. Over the last 2 or 3 games now, he's being Will Anderson Jr., good, where it's an insane level of just being better than anybody else that they have in front of you. Yeah, I mean, he's an unreal talent.
I think it's just rising to the occasion. The intensity of who they have been playing is coming together with playing against back-to-back rivals, essentially, in Arkansas and A&M. So can't wait to watch Will Anderson sack Will Rogers 4 times against Mississippi State. And then just annihilate Jackson Dart when they play Ole Miss. But anyways, A&M covered plus 24.5, under 48. Who would have thought this game would go under, especially at that number?
Yeah.
A&M defense. Number 14, NC State, 19-17 over Florida State. Devin Leary got injured in this game. They did not ask Jack Chambers to do anything when he got hurt. Leary wasn't that great when he was playing. 10 of 21, 47.6%, 130 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Jack Chambers came in 0 for 1, 7 carries for 39 yards. And then Florida State, Jordan Travis, 15 of 30, 50%, 181 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks. But he did have 7 carries for 108 yards there. This one was just very close. Picked FSU. You and I did.
Yeah.
Couldn't get it done.
Those were the breaks, man. And I knew it was going to be a close game, but I was sure, man. I was sure that Florida State was going to get it done. Unfortunately, my boy Jordan Travis didn't have the best game. But it's good to see Florida State kind of being back to being competitive. I think it makes the ACC much more of a talking point, much more competitive. So yeah.
Defensively, because there wasn't much to talk about running the ball or receiving wise. So defensively, I'm gonna go with the top guy there, NC State linebacker Drake Thomas having a good season, 14 tackles, 7 solos, 2 tackles for loss, 2 pass deflections, and a QB hurry. Florida State did cover though, plus 3.5, under 50.5. Coastal Carolina, the Chants are 6-0, 28-21 in a struggle over UL Monroe. Chandler Rogers that's a great game. 90% completion, 27 of 30, 279, 2 touchdowns, 14 carries, 15 yards, and a fumble. Grayson McCall was decent, 67.9%, 246, a touchdown, 9 carries, 41 yards. CJ Beasley, though, another great game, 15 carries, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 catches for 7 yards. And Sam Pinckney, 9 catches, 133 yards. Good game for that Chanticleer. And again, it's coming to a head. Week 13 in Harrisonburg.
Your dream survives another week, my friend.
Yeah, Coastal's got to get past. They got to get through app. That's the big one. That's their big test, which is coming up November 3rd on a Thursday night, but it's in Myrtle Beach. So I will be excited for that Thursday night game. Probably better than what the NFL has scheduled for the Thursday night game that week anyways. Considering what has been put out on Thursdays the last couple of weeks.
Yes, almost certainly.
And defensively, I'm going to go with UL Monroe linebacker Zach Woodard. 10 tackles, 8 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a QB hurry. UL Monroe cover plus 12.5, under 58. Number 12, Oregon, 49-22 over Arizona. Arizona held in for a decent amount of time in this game. Oregon just overpowered them eventually. Bo Nix was great. 80% completion, 20-25, 265. And of course, what Bo Nix does best is run the ball. 8 carries, 70 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I have a feeling that Bo Nix is going to become Taysom Hill. They're similar body types, and it's too similar. That's what Bo Nix's NFL future holds is Taysom Hill.
Yeah, he's a good athlete, and honestly, I think that's the best for Oregon to win games, and it's probably the best for him to kind of showcase his athleticism for the next level, because it's really not playing quarterback, unfortunately.
Wherever Sean Payton coaches next in the NFL, he's going to draft. He's going to have Bo Nix. Next year, wherever Sean Payton coaches, because I believe he's going to be back next year, he's going to draft Bo Nix in the 5th round. Jaden DeLora for Arizona, 57.1%, 241, 1 touchdown, a pick, and a fumble. Ty Thompson came in for Bo Nix at the end, 3 of 4, 75%, 9 yards. Noah Whittington, leading ball carrier in the game, 6 carries, 92 yards, a touchdown, and a 6-yard reception. And then not much to talk about receiving wise, but defensively, not much there either. Defensive back Bennett Williams for Oregon, 4 tackles, 4 solos, a sack, and a tackle for loss. Oregon cover minus 13.5, way under 72. Not really. By 1. I would have took under 72 in this game all day though, even though it only hit by 1. FCS game of the week is an upset. We all picked the Blue Hens, and they let us down in Virginia at William and Mary. I don't know what city William and Mary is in, but I know they're in Virginia. And the Tribe got it done, though. Number 16, William and Mary, 27-21 over number 6, Delaware. Nolan Henderson played well. I mean, 60% completion, 203, 2 touchdowns, 10 carries, 42 yards, no turnovers. I mean, that's hard to lose with that stat line. Darius Wilson for the Tribe, though, 10 of 18, 55.6%, 144 yards, a pick, 10 carries, 57 yards, and a touchdown. Probably the biggest factor was Bronson Yoder, the running back for William and Mary, 20 carries, 114 yards, and a touchdown, though. And William and Mary now goes up to number 11. Delaware slides back to number 13 in the new FCS poll this week. They hit a trick play, did William and Mary. You see Malachi Emo there, 4 carries, 9 yards, hit a 13-yard touchdown pass as well. And then Delaware wide receiver Jordan Townsend, 8 catches, 91 yards, a touchdown. Defensive lineman Nate Lynn for William and Mary, he recovered 2 fumbles. So I think Delaware lost the turnover battle. Probably that's why they lost. And then linebacker Drew Nichols for Delaware, 1 pick off of Darius Wilson. So yeah, good game. I think that's the first FCS game of the week that I have lost, because y'all lost last week when I lone wolfed Elon. But I think this is the first one I've lost. So we'll try to get it back this week. I haven't picked the FCS game of the week yet, but we'll see. William and Mary covered, though, -2.5 over 45.5. Here we go. Look, we have just enough time. It's not 6 o'clock yet.
Yep.
London Giants 27-22 over the Packers. You have the floor.
Let me just, get ready here. Might take up all the available time we have. No, but look, whoever the equipment manager is, whoever assistant is in charge of making sure everyone has their plane tickets and things like that. Somebody needed to go on a covert mission to steal Joe Barry's passport, because he should not have left London. I cannot believe the game plan that after 5 weeks he has just completely refused to abandon. And I'm not sure you can even call it a game plan, because I've never seen any other team in the league say, you know what, we're going to go 8 yards off coverage every play in almost any situation. I have a tweet up here. Saw it yesterday. Andy Herman, he's a beat reporter for the Packers. He went through and was watching the game. There was a 2nd and 19 play, right? Jair Alexander is matched up against Marcus Johnson, who was signed off the practice squad this week because, again, the Giants didn't have any of their receivers healthy. Okay.
4 out. Yeah.
Yep. 4 out. Alexander's 10 yards off coverage. 10 yards. And I guarantee you that's not Jair's doing. If you know Jair Alexander, he'd want to be in press man every single play up in the receiver's face. So, and that's how it was all game. They'd get him in 2nd and longs, and Joe Barry would just be like, yeah, we'll give him 7, make it a 3rd and manageable for him. And then I don't know what he's expecting to happen. You saw your defense get gashed by Bailey Zappi. And no offense to Bailey Zappi, we've talked about him a lot on this show. He's like the FBS record leader, right, in touchdowns, the Houston Baptist kid.
Yeah.
incredible career at Western Kentucky. I think he could be a good backup. You can't play like that against a third string rookie and just expect to be able to win games. And if you watch the game, the Packers deserved to lose this game. LaFleur got outcoached. Barry got outcoached. The offense got outplayed. And the defense just has not looked good. And they're too talented on that side of the ball for that to be the case. They've spent way too much money, way too much capital on that side of the ball for that defense to look like that. The Packers defense right now is currently bottom 5 in the NFL. The other 4 teams that are with them are also bottom 5 in spending on that side of the ball. And the Packers are obviously very much not in that category. So, I mean, we talked about it in the preseason. This was supposed to be a team built around a good defense and a good run game because they were conceding, look, Adams is gone. We don't have that true weapon. We got to, focus on ground and pound, controlling the clock, getting the ball back to our MVP, Aaron Rodgers. And you're not going to win games like this. It's just not sustainable. I'm not going to put it all on the defense. Mostly is on the defense, which is why I opened with that. But LaFleur and Rodgers also have a lot of this at their feet as well, because any amount of adversity this team faces, like any at all, and they start to abandon the game plan. Just like last week, the Packers were running all over the Giants defense. I think Jones, you have Jones is up there, 4.8 average yards per carry, but he only had 13 carries. So they faced any kind of resistance, and Rodgers kind of reverted back to hero ball mode. There were a number of times in the third and fourth quarter where the defense was coming back after kind of a long drive. So they're gassed. And we come out and we run 3 deep shots in a row. Pass, punt. You're not going to win games like that, especially with how the roster's built. So I don't know what they have to do. I don't know what assistant needs to remind LaFleur and remind Rodgers that, hey, you have 2 really good backs in the backfield, and you have one of the best run blocking O-lines in the NFL. Like, just keep using it, especially as the game gets late. That's when you want to lean on them, because you want to chew that clock, especially when you're in a lead. So I don't know, man. It's something else. As currently constructed, this Packers team is not built to go very far if they keep playing like this.
Yeah, one thing they can say at least is that Devontae's not doing much better in Vegas right now with a 1-3 squad.
Right.
But looking at this, the Giants were 6 of 11 on third downs. They outrushed the Packers. The Packers ran it 20 total times for 94 yards. It's good average, 4.7 yards per carry, but the Giants ran it 31 times, 125 yards, averaging 4 yards a carry, but they also scored 3 rushing touchdowns on the day. And my thing was the last 2 plays for the Packers offense. Okay, the third down was batted. Okay. But on fourth down, you go to another quick pass, and you think that the Giants aren't going to think he's throwing it quick again?
Yeah.
It doesn't register with me.
Well,
that makes
sense. And the thing is like you have a 3rd and 2. It's 4th down territory anyways. Run it twice.
Yeah.
Run it twice. You're going to get it. You're going to get it. I don't know. It made 0 sense.
Yeah. And I know our good friend Danny Potter yelled at me on Twitter for the Packers should miss the playoffs tweet, which I'll stand by at this point.
Look,
Because right now they're not going to win the division. The Vikings are playing very well. So, and the only team the Packers can beat is the Bears, apparently.
Right. And, I said this earlier in the show. I forget who I referenced it to. I think it was Houston or somebody. The more close games you play, the more you're going to end up losing, because that's just the nature of the NFL. This Packers team right now is playing teams incredibly close. The only blowout they've had, like you just said, is against the Bears. Everything else has been close. You can't win like that. You can't. It's not a sustainable way of playing football.
I don't know why they don't get Christian Watson more involved. Why did you draft him in the second round if he's only going to do gadget plays?
Yes, exactly. And that's another great point that I talked about on Twitter a lot with a lot of Packers fans. Like, they haven't used him as a wide receiver role since play 1 of week 1. And the play design worked. He just had to execute it. And he will if you get him more chances. But they've completely abandoned that. Now, he left the game with a hamstring issue, and he's been kind of dealing with that ever since, the preseason and a little bit during the season. So maybe that's like causing some. That's the only thing I can think of is why that would happen. Because if that's not the case, then they're completely mismanaging kind of what he can do for you to stretch the field vertically.
Yeah, and at the worst, I think he's wide receiver 3. Dobbs has played well the last couple of weeks. I was disappointed in his fantasy performance this week. I thought he would be pretty good against the Giants secondary, even though the Giants ranked coming into this game number 1 in fantasy against wide receivers, which was kind of crazy to me.
Yeah.
Aaron likes Alan Lazard. He's the veteran. And then obviously, we haven't seen a game like this from Randall Cobb since like freaking 2013.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. He's still got some juice out there.
7 catches, 99 yards, 13 targets. I don't think that's how you win if you're the Packers, throwing it to Randall Cobb 13 times.
No. And that's just it. I think honestly, it's pretty obvious that at least in terms of physical talent, Dobbs and Watson are your 2 most valuable assets at the wide receiver position. And Aaron, one, needs to get over the fact that they aren't veterans who he trusts. Like, you just have to use them, and you have to deal with some of the drops like that both of them have had. They both dropped what would be touchdown passes. That's a fact, and that's understandable, but you got to get over it. You have to have a short memory in the NFL, and that applies to everyone, whether you're a 17-year vet or a rookie wide receiver, especially with how the roster's constructed. So you just have to run the offense the way it is and just live with that.
Yeah, Aaron, 64.1%, 222, 2 touchdowns. Daniel Jones, ultra efficient, 77.8%, 217, 10 carries, 37 yards. Saquon was good again for the Giants. Already said about Cobb. Daniel Bellinger had a 2-yard QB sneak, a la Kansas City and Travis Kelce, or Noah Gray from last week, but Travis does all that stuff too. Mercedes Lewis scored a touchdown for the first time in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The only first-round pick to ever catch a touchdown from Aaron Rodgers. He's caught a couple of them, and even though he wasn't drafted by the Packers. And then Preston Smith is my defensive player of the game for the Packers. 4 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 3 QB hits. Giants +9 over 42. I had the under. Not great.
now that I got that off my chest, I'm gonna head out.
All right, man.
Have a good night, man.
You too. Yeah. The Bills. It's picket time, but not yet. Buffalo rolling the Steelers 38-3 in Buffalo. Josh Allen, 64.5%, 424, 4 touchdowns and a pick, 5 carries, 42 yards. Kenny Pickett was good, though. I'm telling you, the Steelers have something, and I knew it when they drafted him. But he was the most competitive Steeler out there. I mean, 34 of 52, that's 65.4%. He beat Josh Allen completion percentage already his first start. 327, a pick, and 1 10-yard run. Case Keenum came in for Josh Allen late, 2 of 5, 40% for 8 yards. Neither team could run the ball. It's been an issue for most of the year for the Steelers. Offensive line can't run the ball with Najee. That's why I traded Najee for J.K. Dobbins and Tyler Algier today. Very happy about the return that I got for that for when Najee's only ranked number 26 in terms of running backs. Touchdown dependent, not a lot of yards. Sometimes receptions, but we have to wait and see with Pickett. Gabriel Davis, I mean, good Lord. The 2 catches he made were just out of this world. 3 catches, 171 yards, 2 touchdowns on 6 targets. I was excited because I thought the Steelers were in a good spot. They had muffed the opening kickoff, but they were covered, and then or the Bills had muffed the opening kickoff, and then they were covered, but at the 2-yard line, the Steelers did a great job on the first 2 downs, stopping them for no gain, incompletion, and then a no gain run. But dude, on 3rd and 10, you give up a 98-yard touchdown throw. That is just unspeakable. You cannot have that happen in that situation. You have to force a punt. But Josh Allen made the throw. Gabe Davis caught it, and he was gone. 98-yarder for Gabe Davis. He also caught a 62-yarder. That was even a better catch, a one-handed catch at that. So Gabe Davis, terrific day, and on my fantasy teams as well. Stephon Diggs also had a great day. He caught a long touchdown, or not a long one, but 15-yard touchdown there. 8 catches, 102 yards, and a touchdown. Khalil Shakir caught a 24-yard touchdown. That was a great catch. The rookie out of Boise State, 3 catches, 75 yards, a touchdown, and 5 targets. George Pickens was good again. He's Kenny's number 1 receiver, 6 catches, 83 yards, and 9 targets there. Deontay Johnson also a lot of targets, but a couple of drops. I was getting pissed off at Deontay throughout the game. 5 catches, 60 yards on 13 targets there. Defensively, got to go with Bills corner Siren Neal, 2 tackles, 1 solo, 4 pass deflections, and a QB hit. Bills cover -14, under 44.5. Chargers escaping Cleveland, 30-28 win over the Browns. Jacoby Brissett, 61.8%, 230, a touchdown, and an inexcusable pick, dude. I mean, I don't understand. They were driving. He could have ran for the first down to go up in this game. And I don't know how he didn't see the guy that was right in front of him, and he just threw it right to him. So that pick there pretty much changed the game. The Browns did come back and had another chance at a game-winning field goal. Cade York pushed it to the right, though. 3 carries for 32 yards for Brissett as well. Justin Herbert, 64.7%. Not his best game, but this was a running game for both offenses. 228 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 carries, 13 yards. Like I said, the running backs went crazy. Austin Eckler, 15 carries, 173 yards, a touchdown, 4 carries, 4 receptions, 26 yards, and another score. Nick Chubb for Cleveland, 17 carries, 134 yards. He scored 2 touchdowns. Josh Kelly scored for the Chargers. Kareem Hunt scored for the Browns. Mike Williams had a great day for LA, 10 catches, 134 yards, 13 targets there. David Njoku continues to be a great option for the Browns, 6 receptions, 88 yards on 6 targets. And then Amari Cooper on my fantasy bench, 7 catches, 76 yards, a touchdown on 12 targets. Defensive player of the game, Browns linebacker Jacob Phillips, 10 tackles, 7 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Chargers covered -1.5 over 47 easily. Luckily for me, I had Browns +2, so it pushed. Vikings 29-22 over the Bears in a close one. Kirk Cousins was electric, 78%, 296, 1 touchdown, a pick, and a rushing touchdown. Justin Fields for the Bears, 71.4%, 208, 1 touchdown, 8 carries, 47 yards. Fields' his best game by far this season. He still sucks, though. I'll keep saying that. Dalvin Cook for the Vikings, 18 carries, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches for 27 yards. Justin Jefferson went crazy, 12 catches, 154 yards on 13 targets. Darnell Mooney had a crazy catch, one-handed, was a highlight reel on that one. SportsCenter top 10, 2 catches, 52 yards on 5 targets. Velus Jones caught his first touchdown in his rookie season out of Tennessee, 3rd-round pick, 1 catch for 9 yards and a score on his only target. And then Jalen Reagor, his first score as a Viking, a 1-yard touchdown reception on his only target. Defensively, got to go with Vikings linebacker Danielle Hunter, 6 tackles, 5 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a QB hit. Bears cover +8.5 over 44, which I cashed on that one. Patriots, not much, 29-0 shutout over the Lions, which is crazy to think. The Lions had been one of the best offenses in the league, and they got shut out by Bill Belichick's defense. Jared Goff, 54.3% completion, 229, a pick, and a fumble. Bailey Zappi, he continues to be just efficient as all heck. 81%, 17 of 21, 188 yards, 1 touchdown, and a pick. Ramondre Stevenson was very good. Damian Harris injured in this game, so he had the bulk of the carries for most of the way. 25 carries, 161 yards, 2 catches for 14 yards. Jacoby Myers returned for this one to a great performance, 7 catches, 111 yards on 8 targets. Josh Reynolds continues to be very good for Detroit, 6 catches, 92 yards on 10 targets. And then defensively, I got to go with, I don't know, it's tough. All 3 of these guys, I'm just going to say them all because they all had great performances. Lions safety Deshaun Elliott, 12 tackles, 10 solos, 3 tackles for loss, a pass deflection, and a pick. Patriots safety Kyle Duggar, 5 tackles, 1 solo, and a 59-yard fumble return for a touchdown off of Goff. And then linebacker Matthew Judon for the Patriots, 3 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, and 4 QB hits. Patriots cover -3 under 47. I thought for sure the over was going to go. Saints 39-32 over the Seahawks. Geno Smith continues to be stellar, 64%, 16 of 25, 268, 3 touchdowns, 3 carries for 13 yards. Andy Dalton, pretty good, 66.7%. I forgot to put his yardage up there, but he went for 187, 1 touchdown and a pick. But it was Taysom Hill. That's how the Saints won this game, was because of number 7. Tight end Taysom Hill, 9 carries, 112 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 very long ones. And he also threw a 22-yard touchdown to Adam Trotman. Alvin Kamara was great. 23 carries, 103 yards, a fumble, 6 catches for 91 yards. Kenneth Walker had a long touchdown run after Rashad Penny got injured. 8 carries, 88 yards, and a touchdown for the rookie who is going to be the starter moving forward. Tyler Lockett continues to produce for Geno. 5 catches, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns on 6 targets. And then Chris Olave injured in this game, but he scored again. The rookie out of Ohio State, 4 catches, 54 yards, a touchdown on 6 targets. Defensive end Cameron Jordan for the Saints is my defensive player of the game. 3 tackles, 2 solos, 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 QB hits. Jets romping the Dolphins in East Rutherford, 40-17. Teddy Bridgewater got injured in this game, only threw 1 pass. It was an incompletion. And it was a intentional grounding that led to a Jets safety. Skylar Thompson, though, the 7th round rookie out of Kansas State, pretty decent in Bridgewater's place, 57.6%, 166 yards and a pick and a fumble. Possibly going to have Thompson start again this coming week. If Tua cannot be back, Bridgewater in the concussion protocol. Not sure what the status of Tua is, but they do host the Vikings, a tough matchup for Miami. Zach Wilson, though, 66.7%, 14-21, 210 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. That was the name of the game all day for both teams, was the ground game. Raheem Mostert for the Dolphins, 18 carries, 113 yards, a touchdown, and a 9-yard catch. Breece Hall, 197 total yards, 18 carries, 97 yards, and a touchdown. Also caught 2 balls for 100 yards. Michael Carter, 10 carries, 21 yards, not very good, but he did score 2 touchdowns and had 2 catches for 12 yards. Tyreek Hill, leading receiver in the game, 7 receptions, 47 yards, and you had 2 guys who ran touchdowns in. Tight end Durham Smythe for the Dolphins, he had 1 reception for 8 yards on 1 target, and then a 1-yard touchdown run. Wide receiver Braxton Berrios for the Jets, 1 catch for -1 yard on his only target, but he had a 15-yard rushing touchdown. Defensively, have to go with defensive end Carl Lawson for the Jets. He had a Will Anderson type of stat line: 2 tackles, 1 solo, 1 sack, and 7 QB hits on Skylar Thompson and Teddy Bridgewater. Also have to mention Sauce Gardner, the rookie, number 4 overall pick for the Jets. 5 tackles, 3 solos, 1 pass deflection, a QB hit, and his first career interception. The Jets +3 over 46 easy. Bucks in a close one, 21-15 over the Falcons, with a controversial roughing the passer call to keep the Bucks drive alive that eventually led to the Bucks win. I thought it was okay of a call. Some officials have said that it shouldn't have been called, but he did throw him down with force to the head, hitting the ground. So I kind of see what they were saying, but nonetheless, the Bucks did win. Tom Brady, 35 of 52, 67.3%, 351 yards and a touchdown. Marcus Mariota for the Falcons, 14 of 25, 56%, 147 yards, a touchdown, 7 carries, 61 yards. Leonard Fournette, great bounce back game for him after a terrible performance against the Chiefs where they didn't run the ball at all. 14 carries, 56 yards, and a touchdown. Also, great receiving performance, 10 receptions, 83 yards, and a touchdown on 11 targets. My guy Tyler Algier led the way in carries with Cordell Patterson on IR, 13 carries, 45 yards. Hopefully he can get more productive as the games go on. His fellow rookie corner, Avery Williams, 3 carries, 11 yards, and a touchdown, 2 catches, 10 yards. He's a do-it-all guy. Mike Evans led the way in receiving, 4 catches, 81 yards on 8 targets. And then defensively, I'm going to go with Bucks safety Antoine Winfield Jr., 8 tackles, 7 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, pass deflection, and a QB hit. Also got a shout out rookie defensive end Logan Hall for the Bucks, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a QB hit. Falcons +10 covered under 46. Titans 21-17 over the Commanders. They are pretty bad. They should have won the game, though. It was a terrible throw by Carson Wentz. I don't know why you throw that. And they didn't try to run the ball at all on the goal line. But Carson Wentz, 65.8%, 25 of 38, 359, 2 touchdowns and a pick, 5 carries, 15 yards. Ryan Tannehill for the Titans, 15 of 25, 60%, 181 yards and a touchdown. Derrick Henry was great, 28 carries, 102 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions for 30 yards. Fantastic story. Brian Robinson coming back from getting shot twice in the leg and attempted armed robbery in the preseason. Just, can't say enough about the great story of him coming back. And he led the Commanders in carries, 9 carries for 22 yards and rushing yards. Dontrell Hilliard only had 1 carry for 0 yards, but he did have a receiving touchdown. And how about De'Ami Brown, second-year receiver out of North Carolina for the Commanders, 2 catches, 105 yards, and 2 touchdowns on 4 targets. Great deep ball threat for Carson Wentz in this game. And defensively, have to go with, what a game by Washington defensive end Montez Sweat. 6 tackles, 5 solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 4 QB hits. He, Jeffrey Simmons for the Titans, and James Smith-Williams, all very good games, along with Cole Holcomb for the Commanders. Titans were a pick'em, so they covered in the under 43 hit. Texans, they get their first win of the season, 13-6 in Jacksonville. Make it 9 in a row for Houston against the Jags. Crazy stat, kind of like the Colts losing to the Jags all those years in a row in Jacksonville right now. Trevor Lawrence, 25 of 47, 53.2%, 286, 2 picks, 4 carries for 29 yards. Davis Mills, 16 of 24, 66.7%, 140 yards. But it was Dameon Pierce. He was the story of the game. He's why the Texans can win and why they should be able to keep winning if they can keep giving the ball to him. 26 carries, 99 yards, a touchdown, 3 catches, 14 yards on 5 targets. Marvin Jones Jr., he had a 100-yard day, 7 receptions, 104 yards on 11 targets. Evan Ingram, tight end for the Jags, 6 catches, 69 yards on 10 targets. Defensively, I'm going to go with Jags linebacker Foyesade Oluokun, 8 tackles, 6 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits. And then shout out Texans corner Derek Stingley Jr., his first career interception, 7 tackles, 6 solos, 2 pass deflections, and a pick. Texans +7 under 43.5. Niners crushing the Panthers at home, 37-15. Jimmy Garoppolo, 18 of 30, 60%, 253, 2 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield, 20 of 36, 55.6%, 215 and a pick. PJ Walker came in after Mayfield got injured, 5 of 6, 83.3%, 60 yards. Jeff Wilson Jr. was great, 17 carries, 120 yards, a touchdown, and a 12-yard reception. CMC scored again for the Panthers, 14 carries, 54 yards, a touchdown, 7 receptions for 50 yards on 12 targets. Tevin Coleman scored 2 touchdowns in the game. Very good for him. Shi Smith, leading receiver in the game, 4 catches, 69 yards on 5 targets. Great to see him involved. Debo was limited in this game by the Panthers D, 2 receptions, 20 yards, and a touchdown on 9 targets. A lot of great defensive performances in this game. I'm going to go with 49ers corner Emmanuel Mosley, 2 tackles, both of them solos, 2 pass deflections, and a 41-yard pick 6. Nick Bosa was great all day, as was Fred Warner and the rest of the Niners defense. Niners covered -6 over 39.5 easily. The only undefeated team in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles, are 5-0 for the 3rd time in franchise history, 20-17 over the Cardinals in Arizona. Kyler Murray, 28 of 42, 66.7%, 251 touchdown and a pick, 4 carries, 42 yards. Jalen Hurts was great again, 26 of 36, 72.2%, 239 yards, 15 carries, 61 yards, and 2 more rushing touchdowns. He has the most rushing touchdowns with 19 in his first 25 games. That passes Cam Newton. Miles Sanders led the way rushing in the game outside of Jalen Hurts, 15 carries, 58 yards, 2 catches for 6 yards. Eno Benjamin scored a touchdown. Dallas Goedert was fantastic again, 8 catches, 95 yards on 9 targets. Devontae Smith, 10 catches, 87 yards on 11 targets. And wide receiver Marquise Brown for the Cardinals, 8 receptions, 78 yards, a touchdown on 10 targets. And then Zach Ertz also had 10 targets, caught 6 of those for 48 yards. Defensively, I'm going to go with Cardinals corner Byron Murphy Jr., 9 tackles, 7 solos, a half a sack, 3 tackles for loss, pass deflection, and a QB hit. Zach Allen for the Cardinals also worth mentioning. Cardinals did cover though, plus 5.5, under 48.5. I cashed that ticket there. Cowboys surprising 22-10 over the Rams. Cooper Rush is 5-0 in his career, y'all. 4 wins this year, 1 last year. Just ridiculous. That they continue to win. They won't this week though. Not in Philly. Not going to happen. Matthew Stafford though, 28 of 42, 66.7%, 308, 1 touchdown, a pick, 2 fumbles. The Dallas defense is they are crazy good. Cooper Rush, 10 of 16, not asked to do much, 62.5%, 102 yards. They ran the ball efficiently. Tony Pollard, 8 carries, 86 yards, a touchdown, long touchdown run for him. Cam Akers couldn't get anything going on the ground for LA. And Cooper Kupp continues to dominate, 7 receptions, 125 yards, a touchdown on 10 targets. Had a long, crazy good one-handed reception that led to a touchdown that he ran in. Tyler Higbee also 7 receptions, 46 yards, 10 targets, most targeted tight end in football. A lot of great defensive performances in this game. I'm going to go with the Cowboys defensive tackle Osa Odigizua, though. 2 tackles, both of them solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 4 QB hits on Stafford. And then defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence for the Cowboys, also 2 tackles, both solo, and a 19-yard fumble return for a touchdown to open the scoring. Cowboys plus 5, under 41.5. Sunday Night Football, Ravens walk it off on a Justin Tucker field goal, 19-17 against the Bengals. Joe Burrow, 24 of 35, 68.6%, 217, a touchdown and a pick. Also added a rushing touchdown there. Lamar Jackson, 19 of 32, 59.4%, 174, a touchdown and a pick. 12 carries, 58 yards. Jackson struggled. I was happy to see that. But the Ravens did end up getting the win on their final drive. Joe Mixon, leading ball carrier in the game, 14 carries, 78 yards, 3 catches for 10 yards. Mark Andrews, 8 receptions, 89 yards, 1 touchdown on 10 targets. Jamar Chase, he had 7 catches, 50 yards on 12 targets. I think Burrow severely missed T. Higgins in this game. Tyler Boyd just was not able to create the separation that T does as the wide receiver to Chase. And then defensively, we're going to go with Bengals linebacker Jermaine Pratt, 8 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, tackle for loss, 2 pass deflections, and a QB hit. Do have to shout out JPP for making a comeback and making a big impact in his second game with Baltimore. Bengals did cover plus 3, under 47.5 hit. I cashed both of those. The under I cashed live at 44.5. NFL news, we had a trade go down this week. It is the Atlanta Falcons sending linebacker Deion Jones, currently on IR for a shoulder injury, and a 2024 7th-round selection to the Cleveland Browns, trying to get some linebacker help. And the Browns sent back a 2024 6th-round selection. So I think it's a good deal for both sides. The Browns only had to pay the minimum because the Falcons restructured Jones's contract for this season. So that helps Cleveland salary cap wise this year. And for the Falcons, they get a bad contract off their books. That's what they've been doing this year, trying to create the team that Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot want. NFL news wise, some general stuff. The Panthers are the first team to fire their coach this season, 1-4. They have fired head coach Matt Rule today, effective immediately. 11-27 in 2+ seasons, 1-4 this year. 10-23 the first 2 years, not good. Defensive coordinator Phil Snow also fired with Rule. Run game coordinator Al Holcomb will replace him as DC. And in terms of interim head coach, defensive pass game coordinator / secondary coach Steve Wilkes, former Arizona Cardinals head coach for 1 season before Cliff Kingsbury came in 2018. he will be the Panthers interim head coach. Also, free agent wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr., he is targeting a mid-November return. All signs point to him having a good amount of suitors when he returns, including the LA Rams and the New York Giants. Speaking of New York teams, the only team actually located geographically in the state of New York, the Buffalo Bills, they have reached out to the Panthers about running back Christian McCaffrey, seeing about his availability. There's no way David Tepper will let the Panthers trade Christian McCaffrey. No chance. Can kibosh that one right now. IR wise, just one player put on it right now. Titans wide receiver Treylon Burks dealing with a hamstring injury, I believe it is. So he will miss the next 4 weeks. And then an IR activation, Bears getting help at wide receiver N'Keal Harry, who they traded for this preseason. He is coming back off of an ankle injury, I think it was. Other injuries here, a laundry list of them. Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson, he has a partially torn lat muscle near his right shoulder. He had a procedure Friday. It was a injection to try to improve the discomfort. I think that's what I have too. You know, I have some shoulder issues, so I think me and Russ might be similar in that regard. So we'll see. He's going to play through it though. No surgery on the horizon for Russell Wilson at this point. Steelers linebacker TJ Watt going to be back a little bit longer than what people originally thought. He had arthroscopic knee surgery, so he's going to be out a few weeks more than the initial 6-week deadline for his meniscus. Was it meniscus? I believe so. A pec, partial torn pec, yeah. Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott likely won't be ready for Sunday Night Football, but he has not been ruled out yet this week. Jets offensive tackle Dwayne Brown, he got activated off IR, played this week against the Dolphins. He is currently playing through a torn rotator cuff, elected not to have surgery, going to try to rehab and play through it. Steelers tight end Pat Freiermuth and corner Levi Wallace, they both are in concussion protocol, as is Saints wide receiver Chris Olave. Bad news for the Seahawks. Running back Rashad Penny, he fractured his fibula. He's going to have surgery this week. It is season-ending surgery. He's out about 4 months with the tightrope surgery. Going to get his fibula plated to help support the ankle. And luckily for him, there was no additional damage to his ankle. 49ers have some injuries. Corner Emmanuel Mosley had the pick 6 off of Baker Mayfield yesterday. He is out for the year. He tore his ACL. Also with San Fran, defensive back Jimmy Ward, he has a broken hand. So he will be out a little bit. Ravens safety Marcus Williams, he has a dislocated wrist. He's going to miss significant time. They're going to try to figure out if he can play with a cast or not. Eagles center Jason Kelce has a lower ankle sprain in his left foot. He will be playing through that. Knowing Jason Kelce, he will not miss a game. Not against the Cowboys, especially on Sunday night this week. Saints wide receiver / kick returner Deontay Hardy, he has a turf toe injury. He's out a few months and possibly could be season ending. Might need surgery on that. Panthers quarterback Baker Mayfield, he has a high ankle sprain. He's going to be out a couple of weeks. That means PJ Walker is in line to start for Carolina. We'll have to wait and see how much longer Sam Darnold is out. He could possibly make an appearance, I think, in the coming week or two. Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins, he has a sprained ankle. And left tackle Jonah Williams, MCL sprain. They are both day-to-day. We'll have to monitor those injuries. Would have been nice to know T. Higgins wasn't going to play that much before I put him in my parlays for last night. That didn't hit anyways. It's fine. And then ins and outs for tonight's game. Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker, he is out. And Also with the Chiefs, offensive lineman Trey Smith, wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster, they are both questionable. So we do have one. I believe there's some college games during the week. I'd have to check. Do we have Maction coming back? We do not have Maction, but we do have 3 games this week in between shows. Starting off tomorrow night, we have a college game. It's a Sun Belt game. Louisiana 2-3, the Raging Cajuns at Marshall 3-2 Herd. That one is 7:30 on Wednesday on ESPN2. Marshall is 10.5-point favorites, and the over/under is 47.5. And then Baylor on Thursday, we got 2 games. Baylor 3-2 Bears at the 2-3 West Virginia Mountaineers. That one's at 7 p.m. on FS1. The Baylor Bears are favored 3.5 points, and the total is set at 54.5. And then finally, the Temple Owls 2-3 at the 4-1 UCF Black Knights. That one is also at 7 p.m. on ESPN. UCF is favored by 23 at home, and the over/under is set at 46. Interesting game. That one is with Kurt Warner's son, EJ Warner, being the starting quarterback for the Temple Owls. Look forward to watching him play. Pick standings, yeah. We got some separation a little bit now. Mark and I sit alone at the top still at 6-4. We went 1-1 last week. Peter went 1-1 with us. We all picked the Broncos on Thursday, and it did not work out very well. But on Monday, we had all picked, or everyone had picked the Niners except for Logan. So yeah, Logan goes 0-2. He drops down to third place, 5-5, 1 game back from Mark and I. And then Peter continuing to battle, but he is still 2 back of us and 1 of Logan. So tonight, in about 45 minutes, we got the Raiders 1-3 at the Chiefs 3-1. Chiefs 7-point favorites. We are all on the Kansas City Chiefs. That means the Raiders are going to win. Patrick Mahomes is very good against the Raiders in his career, so that bodes well. I have Travis Kelce scoring the first touchdown in this game, but I also have Raiders plus 7.5. So if you want, take the points with that. That is what my guy recommends. Over/under for this one is 51.5. I do like the over. I don't believe in either of the defenses, really. This one is at 8:15 on ESPN. Thursday night, I mean, what is the NFL doing to us on Thursday nights right now? It's just terrible game after terrible game. But here it is. Commanders 1-4 at the Bears 2-3. It's a pick'em game, so pick your side. I am lone wolfing the Washington Commanders. I will be wearing my Carson Wentz jersey on Thursday night. And we're gonna try to get this win in Chicago. Justin Fields sucks. I think the Commanders have a better overall team, especially defensively with Chase Young and Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, etc. Cole Holcomb at linebacker. I just think they're overall a better team, and I think Chicago is going to lose in primetime at home. Over/under is 39.5. I'm going to go over that. I think we see better game than we have seen the last couple of weeks on Thursdays. And then 8:15 on Prime Video. Next week, we'll be back. NFL Week 6, Monday Night Football, Week 7 kickoff. Finally, a good Thursday night matchup, Saints at the Cardinals. DeAndre Hopkins will be back for that game, so I'm interested to see him against Marshawn Lattimore. And as always, we'll have your NCAA game recaps and NFL game recaps to go along with any NFL and college football news. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter at FAA_bets is our other Twitter handle. And then FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio.